All right, everybody, so that is ecosystems in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Why is preserving public land so important?
Ooh, that, my friend, is a really good question. I think I'm going to need a little bit more time to answer that question. Why is conserving public lands important? Seems like an easy question.
But it's not, because there are dozens and dozens of reasons why preserving public lands is important.
So I thought I would strap on a backpack, spend a night on some of our public lands, and give you my sales pitch about why we should preserve these magical places. So I don't have a clear-cut plan for today's trip. We are just out in the Sandia, well, really the Cibola National Forest, Sandia Ranger District, and just going for a hike. I'm gonna find a nice camp spot and camp out for the night. And so one of the simplest, but I think probably most important reasons for preserving public land is so people can do this. Enjoy the outdoors. There are tons and tons of health benefits that you can get from spending time outdoors. Mental benefits, lung benefits, sleep, all kinds of things. So one of the reasons why we need to protect public lands is so we can do this kind of stuff. Found a pile of deer bones here, and that brings us to another one of our points about conservation. We need to preserve habitat so wildlife have a place to go. We want to reduce animal and human interactions for a lot of reasons. One, this deer was probably killed by a mountain lion, so we'd like to reduce our interactions with mountain lions, but also a lot of interactions with animals can bring disease and things like that. So preserving habitat gives the animals a place to live and makes everybody a little bit more happy.
Teddy Roosevelt, our greatest conservation president, once said, "Here is your country. Cherish these natural wonders, cherish the natural resources, cherish the history and romance as a sacred heritage. For your children and your children's children, do not let selfish men or greedy interests skin your country of its beauty, its riches, or its romance." I think that speaks to the moral obligation that we have to protect our beautiful public lands for future generations.
So water is another reason why conservation is so important. We conserve our forests and grasslands and things like that. They help clean the water that we drink all the time. We're at Coal Spring Picnic Area, which is an essentially abandoned picnic area. It's important to talk about that because conservation is in our hands. People were coming up here and vandalizing. The neighbors didn't like all the partying and vandals and things that were going on here, and it was eventually closed down. So there's a couple lessons here. One, we have to take care of our public lands. And secondly, you have a voice. You know, most decisions about places like this are not made on a national level. They're made on a more public level. Public comment has a huge part, so do your part and stay involved.
In the United States, 640 million acres, or about 28% of the total land area, is under public ownership. In New Mexico, that number jumps to 45%. 45% of New Mexico is owned by the public.
When we talk about conservation, we're not just talking about saving the land, locking it away, and forgetting about it. We're also talking about managing the land. And these piles are all evidence of the Forest Service managing this land. What they're doing is thinning, and then these piles dry for a few years, and they'll actually come in and burn this area in the next year or so, because fire is a natural part of the ecosystem. So conserving public lands allows us to better manage our ecosystems. Studies have shown that there's about a 10% increase in the number of species found in protected areas than outside of protected areas. So biodiversity is another critical component of conservation, because the more biodiversity, the healthier the ecosystem. The healthier the ecosystem, actually the healthier we as humans are, because the ecosystem is doing a lot of ecosystem services for us, filtering water and clean air and all those things. So biodiversity, critical, and it's much higher in these protected areas.
And managing our ecosystems helps maintain the natural processes and functions of ecosystems, such as soil regeneration, flood prevention, and pollination. Land conservation plays a vital role in combating climate change by storing carbon, protecting ecosystems that regulate climate, and providing habitat for species that can adapt to changing conditions.
Thank you for conserving public lands.
Jeez, I'm a moron.